be, we don't have to have anybody, right? Because it's just discussion.
Yeah, just discussion.
Okay.
Look at us also close and tight.
Okay, we will call this meeting to order, and we will discuss item 1 tonight, resolution to amend the fee schedule by adding refuse cart pricing to Public Works section. And this is a discussion only, and we may take it up for a vote at the recessed Public Works meeting later on tonight.
Okay.
And I will turn it over to Dave Webking, Director of Public Works.
So for many years, we supplied services where we made available to residences 2 types of refuse carts, 96-gallon size as well as a 64-gallon size. Since 2004, we have sold these carts, we received them, we assembled them, and then we also on many occasions delivered those to those patrons' houses or residences as requested. And at that time in 2014 it was $45 for the 96-gallon container, and for the 40 it was $40. Now since that time, 2014, we had many shipments. These shipments, the price of these carts has fluctuated. But recently, the last 2 shipments, based on, for whatever reason, the amount of material, labor that we're being charged from this provider of Cascade, the price has increased to the point that it's up to $58 for a 96-gallon cart and $48 for a 64-gallon cart. So I just made a call yesterday and indicated if we want to order more carts, what would the price be? And they're already exceeding this pricing as we speak. And this is due to the petroleum products, the resin that's used to create the plastic within the cart. So at some point in time, it's going to fluctuate, and we're hoping decrease, hopefully when the economy and the materials are cheaper for them to make these carts. So we currently, right now, we are experiencing a loss. So if patrons would call, the city is purchasing or subsidizing the difference in these pricing. So my recommendation would be to adjust the pricing from 45 to 58 for the 96 and from 40 to 48 for the 64-gallon cart.
Yeah, we shouldn't be losing money.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Alderman Grisham, please.
Is this the only supplier, and I'm assuming, just like when there was a helium shortage, that it's across the board, so the petroleum issue wouldn't be just this specific supplier versus another manufacturer of carts?
Correct. This is across the board for other manufacturers of these carts.
Okay. And I had reached out, just so my colleagues know, I reached out to Dave earlier in the week to kind of discuss if we could put a little bit of a discussion toward what we had discussed in past about all residents having these carts and making it mandatory. And it's something that I would like to sponsor at some point, but I didn't know if it would be appropriate to speak of that in this meeting. If we're looking at increase of prices on the carts, I just thought it would be something to throw out there right away and ask Dave to provide the data that we have. How many properties do not currently have garbage carts that are I would say, more appropriate, especially considering we have a rat issue in the city. So it's kind of something that I was working on the side, and thought I'd ask Dave just to present those numbers as to how many residents don't have carts right now.
So we currently have 18,000 living units, so multi-residential units, single family. Of those 18,000, approximately 16,000 residents have the city-provided cart that they went out and purchased. Of this past year, approximately 650 of these containers have been bought recently. So there's an upswing to obtain and purchase these carts.
Is there a particular area within the city that the numbers would show less, or is it kind of across the board?
It would be where the living units are more dense, more heavily populated. It's been more consistent where we've seen this. where you have more multifamily dependency and more refuse that's generated.
Would this be just charged on their property tax? Is that what they do?
So good point. If we do have a requirement that is set forth by the sanitation division, we do give them allowance to adhere to that violation and comply. If they don't within 30 days, then we do put it, for payment. If they don't provide payment within 30 days, it would be on their special charge, and then it'll be later on their tax roll.
Are
So-
you, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I thought when we rolled out, this is before my time, I thought when we rolled out these carts, everybody in the city got these carts at that time.
That's a good point. That's for recycling. So,
Okay, so it wasn't for garbage.
correct.
No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't, not, no.
So everybody had to purchase their own garbage can.
Correct. So for recycling back in 2016, 2017, then we went to single source where everybody could put their contents in one cart. Great decision. Thank you for doing that. It allowed us to have this container, which it was easier for collection.
Well, it was very
Better.
lucrative for people to purchase them at that time. The price was right, and I think a lot of people did purchase them.
They were free.
For the recycling, the utility, the solid waste utility provided one container for a
Recycling.
living unit. Correct.
Right.
I think though at this juncture, if we would have had that, to be equal, I think there's a lot of people who move into the city too that just naturally assume that those carts are provided. And I think if we're looking at the numbers of 2,000 residences, I think it would be beneficial that we look at it mandatory. Then it's across the board. We don't have to worry about price hikes, and a lot of things. I mean, we will when they have to replace them. But I think if we just if we looked at doing that, getting the 2,000 carts rolled out, we can put that order in. We don't have to worry about, the back ordering of it, the waiting, the constituents having to wait on these carts because a lot of them are complying, like you said, and
Yeah.
want them.
We have 1,350 that need them, right? If you said we got 650 that are just,
Yeah, roughly 1,500 to 2,000
that need them yet.
residential units. Yeah. And we do get some from time to time. Instead of having one, they want an additional refuse container because the demand for it is there with family members.
And duplexes naturally would have to. I have a duplex, so I have to recycle to
Correct. Yep.
refuse. Okay.
I guess Mr. Chair, I guess I understand where you're coming from as far as what you are suggesting. However, because of COVID and a lot of people are out of work, I would suggest we hold off and probably until next year for something like this. It's up to the committee, obviously, or it's up to the council.
If I may, this would be something that would be placed on the tax bill, correct?
That would
could
be
it
an
be?
option. You could, always give the resident the option to purchase, but I guess I'm thinking that you would have a compliance deadline where approximately 6 months, 1 year, what have you, whatever the time frame is, to allow the household or this residential unit to comply.
And may I ask another question? Of these numbers throughout the city, are a lot of these non-owner occupied units that we would be speaking of, that we would have landlords that just aren't getting that and providing it for their tenants?
I wouldn't have the exact numbers, but I know that occurs.
A good percentage of it would be?
That I guess I can't say 100% certain, but I don't think it would be that great of a percent.
Okay.
But that's something I'll try to see if we can identify for you.
I think that is one of the things that I had heard, at least, that, a lot of these are rental units and the landlord just doesn't want to spend the money to provide, the refuse carts.
And so no
and leaves it
enforcement
on
to spend
them.
it. Yeah,
Right,
no
because, well, it's an
enforcement to
extra
spend it.
expense on a property, for profit
Yeah.
versus a homeowner. But to speak to what you said, Alderwoman Reinke, I'm not in disagreement with the COVID being a hardship on a lot of people. However, we have been inundated with a lot of rat issues in the city too.
Oh, yeah.
And these residents have been dealing with extra expenses trying to abate their own rats and deal with it. And I think that if we really just tighten the reins on what we can do city level right now is at least mandate those carts so we're not having open containers, other things like that that are rolling down the streets and garbage overflowing type of thing. So that's really my reasoning behind it, and I understand too. But if you're looking at one residence and the cost is what you said, 45.
48 for
40,
one or
yeah.
58. People, honestly, people would be foolish not to get the $58 one.
Right, the larger one,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of residents also, it's a matter of being able to maneuver that cart. We do have a senior program too that could have assistance with that, but that's why I think most of them take the smaller cart because it's easier to handle.
I would think we could do a 6-month. Like if we implemented it now, we do a 6-month time to pay it off. If they don't, it wouldn't get tacked onto their taxes until 2022.
That would be an option.
That would be a.
That would be a good idea.
Because then you've got that 6-month period, which will take us into the first of the year.
Right.
If they don't pay for it by then,
Yes.
then they'll go at the end of
I would
2022.
go
It'll be
along
on their
with something like
taxes.
Yeah.
that. Is there
And
a
that would give you a
demand,
time frame.
basically, is there a demand for carts? I mean, do we have an adequate supply right now?
Good question. Currently, no.
Don't have any at all.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh.
So far this year, we went through 650 carts. Never before have we had such a demand. And we had to request transfer of monies from other accounts to, make this last purchase of 240 carts. So great question. So right now, it is an upswing for demand of additional carts. So we're trying, again, we just made this order a couple weeks ago, and there are individuals waiting for these carts to be compliant for certain issues that were addressed to their living unit. But there are other individuals just based on the demand. One cart, as we kind of spoke before, some of us was based on COVID. A lot of family members may be home, working from home, might be an increase in the demand and the type of refuse waste that they generate at their living unit. So
I do have a question for you. You know how we have a number of businesses that have apartments above them? And I've been hearing that some of those places do not, they don't have the carts. They are required to have a dumpster, and Waste Management comes and picks their stuff up. Is that because of the business down below?
correct. So if it's deemed a commercial type occupied business, then yes, they,
So the residents don't get their own garbage can upstairs.
correct.
The
It's the business owner or the occupant that owns that facility is responsible for the refuse and recycling of that.
So they wouldn't need
Correct.
the carts.
Yep.
Okay.
Good question.
Dave, I have a question kind of coupled with that because obviously I have my salon and we were dumpster only at the salon. I would, because I had minimal waste with my salon, I just take my garbage home, to be honest with you. And the cost was immense for the property owner, just having a small hair salon downstairs and having 3 residential units in the building. It really was needed for them moreover than the business. I mean, like I said, if I have 1 to 2 bags of garbage a week, I'm lucky to have that. But in instances like that, could we offer up carts for those businesses? What would we need to do? Not for the businesses, but for the residents within that business? Would that be helpful, or would that add too much to the route and expense?
Well, that would add more demand, but that is something that would have to be addressed in our ordinance.
Okay.
So that is something that, if it is the will of the committee that we want to make changes to the existing ordinance, that is something that you as committee members could review, and we could have discussions about how it would affect staff and the demand for it.
Yeah,
But it
that
would
wouldn't
be
be
a
a bad
change.
idea to look at, and I'm kind of going off topic, but I
Well,
just thought we'd
and I've
ask.
talked to a business owner who rents from a landlord, and he's got apartments up above, and he gets penalized for the dumpster cost because his business is there, but he hardly uses it, and it's more that the neighborhood uses the dumpster.
It's the truth, and
Yeah.
that's, my landlord actually, at the salon took away the dumpster. It just made more sense because the neighborhood was just dumping in it.
And that's where I find that that's an issue. That's why I was asking.
basically, I like the idea of hers that she indicated. If you could please find out what area in the city has need of these carts. Is that possible without too much trouble?
Yeah, we can look through this through GIS and try to do, where the
I'd be
demand is
interested
and where
to-
they're missing.
To see.
You want to find out which is renter owned and owner occupied, right? That's what you were looking for?
Of households.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But which ones are renters and which ones are owners, correct? That's what you're looking at?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just area of the
Just as a
city.
Just the area of the city,
Carts.
okay. Gotcha.
Because I felt that a lot of carts were sold when we had the, you might say, the cheap prices. So I'd be interested to see how many more are needed.
Sure. And the demand that, I guess, the amount that's still needed is around 1,500 to 2,000 living units or residential units.
Don't have them.
That don't have
That
them.
don't have the
Right.
carts.
So we're almost, 88, 90% compliant. Everybody has them, so that remainder of the 10% or so.
I guess we'd have to look at the logistics on if we would look at a change in ordinance for businesses to have the number of units in a building versus, like I said, ours has 3 units. I
Right.
think that should be managed by regular garbage collection versus a dumpster and maybe an 8 unit above,
And then,
So,
a business.
so can we do two things? Can we do the price increase, like, say, today? And can we do this other stuff after you give us the information we're looking for as far as the ordinance is concerned?
well, the discussion item was regarding the price
Right, yeah,
increase.
that's
So
right.
if that is
Correct.
approved,
Okay.
my understanding that would take effect.
And we can
vote on
visit a
that
different one.
Tonight at the recess?
At the recess meeting,
Okay.
because it's item 20 or something like
Okay.
that, and we wandered a little bit on our discussion,
Yeah.
but that's okay. We got time.
Yeah, we got time.
Yeah.
If-
So, we'll just,
I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
No. If you say the prices are high, what if after this COVID, the prices go down? Would we lower the price then?
Yes, so as it is written by our city attorney, he has provided that option for us. So as we receive future additional shipments where the price is reduced, I can communicate that change.
Right, but if we buy
and adjust.
100 of them at
$58.
$58,
800.
do they stay 58 until we run out, or is like all of a sudden,
It's for that order.
Yeah.
So if
Okay.
I think the order that was placed is around 230, 240 cards.
Yeah, we don't want to price
So
go down.
as they
I know,
run out,
we're dealing with like lumber futures now.
241,
It's like,
that
geez, I
number
gotta wait
starting
another
the
month
new
until the
order would-
dumpster fees go down or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want
They
to.
tried to get
I
helium
think,
balloons for
personally, I think lock it
birthday.
in, but that ain't,
Well, it should be until that batch of that order is done. That's
Correct.
what it should be.
and that's what the
Yeah.
cost of that container or that cart was.
Okay.
I think it would be reasonable to go with the price increase.
Yeah.
As,
I do too.
we shouldn't be subsidizing that in the
We
first
shouldn't be
place.
losing money.
No.
And
no,
I
same with the
like-
Because
TV.
the taxpayers
Same
are
thing with
losing
the
money all the
TV.
way around
Like,
anyhow.
it's a big moneymaker for West South. No, it was actually a big money loser, and now we're just breaking even now on the TV. So we're not,
Pretty much.
we're not in the salvage business here, folks.
Exactly.
So, okay, with that
Right.
said, is there a motion to adjourn? We'll vote on it at the recess meeting then, okay?
Yeah.
Just
Okay,
because that's
motion
what,
to adjourn.
Second.
that's what it says.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you,
Opposed?
Dave.
We are
Thank you.
adjourned.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dave, and
Thank you.
the rest of the